Gents, afternoon, and welcome to yet another episode of FGS TV. Always good, and good to see some old friends in here. So the esteemed Tim Pitcher, industry legend, as we know, been to the likes of, well, the original 3PAR, been at Solidfire, NetApp, and I'm sure there's a few others that he can name, but it doesn't mean he moves around a lot. It just means he's been to high, powerful places, yeah? And Phil Hooker, one of the legends of 3PAR, I'd say, the original 3PAR before the HPE. Very well known in the industry, so it's a real pleasure to have them on. So thanks for joining us, gents.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So Tim, firstly, just can you introduce yourself? What position you are, what you do, a little bit of your history, because people do like to know.
So Tim Pitcher, I'm the VP of Sales here at Nebulon, so I run the worldwide field organization. Been at Nebulon now for a year and a half. Before that, I was part of NetApp post the Solidfire acquisition. So I joined Solidfire, we built that company up, and I was in the sales team there. Obviously that became part of NetApp very successfully. I hasten to add, and stayed for 3 years at NetApp. Before that, I was 3PAR and then into HP, which was my journey. So I was 2 years at 3PAR and then 2 years at HP. But before that, I was quite a long period of time at NetApp, as you said.
Right. Okay. Thanks for that, Tim. So knows his stuff around the storage world, because all of those storage focused. Phil, shout out about yourself. Big yourself up, mate.
Sure, thanks. So I actually have a very similar history to Tim in recent times. So I was at 3PAR in the early days, so I went through the whole 3PAR thing into HP. So great time at 3PAR, great time at HPE. Then did Solidfire as well. Then into NetApp, and then just couldn't resist the opportunity to get back in touch with all the old friends and engineers and various people to do this one.
Right.
That's all going well.
Brilliant. Thanks for that. So just a quick one for everybody, because this is an HPE event. So HPE, Nebulon is an HPE OEM product. So just if you're a little bit confused, this HPE event is, so there it's an HPE, it's got HPE part numbers, etc., etc. So
can I clarify that? We're virtual OEM. We're in the virtual OEM program.
Right. Okay.
So we've got a great relationship with HPE. Obviously, lots of friends there from our background, but we're in the virtual OEM program with HPE. Right.
Okay. No, I appreciate that. So usually we do events and we do FGS TV episodes that I know lots about, yeah. And so it's really good because I can join in the conversation and add some, actually usually add something worthwhile. I think this one I might be less useful, yeah. So with Nebulon, as far as I can see, these are in the storage market, but more. I'm going to rewind here. I should rewind here. The reason I find Nebulon so interesting, before I move on to the bit I was going on about, is it's the same people that came from 3PAR. The people who started it, and I'm going to let you talk about that in a sec. The people who work there. 3PAR, to me, the best that there's ever been. At that time, you didn't get anything better than 3PAR. It was new. It was what it did was it was groundbreaking. So different class. So it's the same people, the same starters, the same owners, same people work there. Really excites me, and that's why it excites me. Not because of the product, because I don't know the product. Yeah, from what I can see on the outside, it's vSAN, but different. Yeah, but I might be wrong, and you're going to tell me what an idiot I am. So it's a quick one about the company, Tim, if you don't mind. So just so we can get a feel what the backbone of it is, where they've come from, because it's quite new, and so why it's about, why you're so comfortable, because you're obviously a bit of a player in the industry and you've gone here. So tell us why, and tell us a bit about the company.
Well, I don't know about being a bit of a player, but at the same time, I think that
the term player, different connotations nowadays, so I use a different term.
Yeah, so I think that, I mean, it's certainly true that for the likes of Phil and I, who were at 3PAR and were there a good period of time, it's a real treat for us to be able to re-engage with people that, you've got a lot of respect for, you've seen be really successful. And, and it's also, if you look at startups, statistically, it's proven that, young companies that try and, build themselves and get to market, if they're formed by a team of people that have worked together before, they dramatically increase their chances of success as opposed to a single founder startups. I mean, we all know lots of companies that have got, you know, both categories, but at the same time, you know, if you've got a team that's worked together, it's a really powerful combination because there's a lot of stuff they've just been through. And there are 4 founders of the company. The principal one and best known would be David Scott, who's our chairman. He was the chief executive of 3PAR and successfully led the company all the way through its journey, really. From
he had HPE storage, didn't he?
And then he was the SVP and GM of HPE storage. And you know, the 3PAR HP story was one of those ones that was a genuine success. You know, I mean, the 3PAR became the bedrock product for the storage and data management group that they had, and became a real leading product for HPE. Yeah. Seemat Nazari is our chief executive, and he was the chief software architect at 3PAR, and then he went into HP with the same role, obviously much broader responsibility, and also became an HP fellow while he was there. So yeah, he's obviously knows his stuff. Sean Atati was on the platform side leading that at 3PAR and HP, and assumes a similar position as our CTO here. And Craig Nunez was the CMO at 3PAR, then took over as the VP of the storage group for marketing at HP, and is our chief operating officer here. Okay. So the organization, all the go-to-market stuff, sales and marketing, and also finance and ops and all that stuff. So my role reports into Craig, so he's got a broader responsibility here.
So the interesting thing for me is these guys, I don't know their financial situation, but I'm assuming these guys probably don't need to get out of bed too much, yeah, to work, but they have found something that they think is really interesting to move forward. So I'm going to move over to you, Phil, and you just give us a brief overview of what it is. But you have to remember there's a lot of laymen watching this, lay women watching this, and so they might not even understand vSAN, some of these people. So don't go there. So yeah, give us an overview, because yeah. So why is this, and why is this going to make a difference to the industry?
Sure. I mean, so first of all, you know, I did a few storage startups, and I didn't want to do another one. And the reason I'm here is this isn't just another storage startup. You know, it's not building a better mousetrap. If you think about storage, all the recent storage startups, they take the fundamental architecture of something and tweak it or make it better. Now it's all flash. Now it does this. There's some key feature that says now it's better than the previous one. But this is fundamentally different. So if you look at the way the 2 key storage architectures that are in use today, there is the external storage rate. 3PAR is a great example. I completely agree with you. One of the best platforms ever designed originally. You know, that is an external storage platform. It sits in the data center. Everything connects to it, and it does its job fantastically. Okay. And then there's this new thing, which was all about software defined and HCI, things like vSAN, where it says actually those things are big and expensive, and also only fit more in data center. So how about we use commodity items, put some software on a server, and deploy storage that way? So we just take some standard servers, some standard disks, put a bit of software on it, and deploy it that way. And those are the 2 key architectures. Nearly every product out there, you can put into 1 or 2 of those camps. Yeah.
So you're talking about servers that have got a few disks in, and you might have 5 or 6 servers, and you put them all together, and there you are. You've got a virtual array. Am I right?
Exactly.
God,
so those are the 2
cleverer than I thought, Phil.
Yeah. Well, you clearly know what vSAN is as one of the major players in there.
Yeah.
And if you look at that, but no one of those has become the dominant one. They're both around, they're both in use, and they both have their use cases. And some customers have moved from one to the other, and a lot of customers have both. And they both got strengths and weaknesses. And if you look at the way we've deployed this, there are some big industry trends going on. Okay, first of all, there is a move to cloud control planes. If you look at the networking infrastructure, things like Cisco Meraki, they put all the cloud control planes, the management infrastructure is in the cloud, but you still have your on-prem element of it. But all the UI management in the cloud. And then there's a move to things like
embedded
infrastructure, so offload engines that go in servers as well. Okay, and this is very.
Explain what one of those is.
Okay, so if you in the very simplest term,
I do actually know it's for the audience.
You know, a graphics card is the simplest one and first one ever that everyone's aware of. You put a graphics card in your PC, it offloads all the graphics to it. Right, it's very good at doing that, and leaves the PC or server to do its own job.
Like GPU offloading on a VDI environment. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly the same thing. So there's a move to more of those, and a lot of startups and companies are doing that. So if you think about what we do, we're very akin to things like the smart home, and a great analogy is things like the Nest thermostat or the Ring doorbell. Okay, so this is a Nest thermostat. You put it in your house. It's all in the cloud, but it connects to your existing infrastructure, your boiler, your systems like that.
Yeah.
But it's all managed from the cloud and has all these amazing features. You don't need to understand how it works. It's all automated from the cloud. You click a few buttons and magic happens. So what we're doing is it's all about smart infrastructure. So by what we do is we have this offload card that goes in the server.
Yeah.
So every server, you just put this simple card in the server. That runs the storage software.
Is it, so is it like sorry to keep interjecting, I'm just trying. So would you, most people listening would know what a smart array is. So is it like a smart card, or I've got it totally wrong?
No, so you can look at it both ways. So a simple thing is it's like a RAID card but smart. So think of a smart RAID card. You put it in there. Essentially, it looks and acts like a RAID card. The server sees it as a RAID card. It does RAID card jobs, but it's doing a lot more work than that. So it's doing things like all the storage stuff, which we're not going to spend much time on, but dedupe, compression, snapshots, all those enterprise storage features that we're all used to from external storage arrays are done inside the card. Okay? And then the whole management UI is running in the cloud. So the end result is you get a bunch of servers, you have a web interface in the cloud, and you can fully automate it, fully deploy stuff in a matter of minutes, but you get all those enterprise functionality that you're used to from the external storage array market. But you're doing it at more of the software-defined pricing, the likes of just server items. So I can buy some HP DL380s, I can order it with a Nebulon smart card inside it, and then just go to website, deploy my servers, configure everything.
So you go to the website, it's in the cloud, everything's in the cloud, and you manage it from there. You can spew it, what's going on from there. You can see it. And so your single pane of glass, which the industry loves calling everything, and we've got a single pane of glass. Yeah, we all love that. So they go onto the web, go into the cloud, to the Nebulon cloud or whatever it may be, like a Meraki one is, and they manage the lot. They set up LUNs from there. They do their, I don't know, whatever RAID configuration it is from there. Is that right?
Yeah, yes, absolutely right. First of all, but it's a bit broad. No, it's a bit broader than that. So that's a storage focus we're talking about, and you absolutely can do that. Yeah. But you can deploy servers from there. So one thing that Nebulon does is it takes control of the boot device, which is a really important element of the server. So you can take 10 brand new DL380s that have been delivered to a data center. You turn them on, they sit there and do nothing. They're just brand new DL380s. You've got to get ILO out, start configuring.
Not the ones we sell. They don't do nothing for you. Carry on. Yeah.
So they need to be installed and set up and configured. But if you go to a cloud platform like we have, you log into the cloud platform, it says, oh, I found 10 servers in your data center. They're brand new. What do you want to do? And you say, deploy my VMware infrastructure, deploy my Kubernetes infrastructure. You click a button, 2-3 minutes later, they're up and running. We've deployed the operating system. We've configured all the storagey stuff that you talked about, and all those RAID and that type of stuff, array decoding, snapshot policy, bang, and it's done. And it's consistent. So every time I deploy it, I've got a known consistent thing to manage my corporate standards.
No, that's really interesting. So when you say you can set up all the storage stuff, like the RAID and everything, this is not like Pure, that you can't set up anything. You get encryption, you get that in the box, and you can't do anything. You can actually go RAID 5.+1, or you can go 6+2, and all. You can do what you like. Can you, like with the 3-pi? You can choose different nodes to have different things, or how does it work?
It depends on it. So we're all about applications, which applications. So different applications have different requirements. So take two extreme examples: MongoDB and VMware production. So MongoDB, as an example, doesn't really want a lot of data protection because the application does that.
Yeah.
If it doesn't need multiple copies of data, I don't need all that stuff. Okay, and then you take something like VMware, it expects a storage array to have redundancy. And VMware expects storage to be visible to all the servers. So it's a shared platform, highly available. So when you deploy this infrastructure, you deploy these templates in the cloud, which only take a couple of minutes to design them, or you use the ones we provided, and they will set that up specifically for that environment. So if you say deploy VMware production, it will make sure it's HA, so there's multiple copies of data, it's presented to everybody. If you deploy something else like MongoDB or Kubernetes, it would configure the storage differently. So you have your control over those capability levels. But the idea being, it's just about click VMware production, okay. That's the simplicity and power of it, that you don't need to do all that stuff.
So it's very app-centric.
Exactly.
Knows what app it is, and it was set up around that. We don't. Right.
Yeah.
So what about one of the big arguments that I've had over the years, actually, yeah, because I'm interested like that, right? Is, you get HPE saying 3PAR, as you used to say, and Tim used to say, oh yeah, it's in the ASIC, it's offloading, it's doing all the compression, it's doing everything through that. Yeah, so it's not taking it off the controller. Yeah, and then you get people like Pure saying, no, you've got to do it in software because then you can change the software really easily. Yeah, so yours is an offload. So how do you update? Is it just like a firmware update? Is that how you do it? So it's just as easy to change the software if there's something, because that's Pure's argument. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, if you look at storage platforms, upgrades are the nightmare platform environment. They are the high risk, they're highly complex, and companies, 3PAR included, spend a huge amount of effort to make sure they work really well. They are very complex procedures to do. You're taking an entire operating system that's live with thousands of apps going on, and you're changing it live. It is horrendously complicated. It takes huge engineering resource to make that work. So our simplicity is really clear. So around 75% of our code is in the cloud. Okay, and this is delivered as a SaaS. So this is, in the cloud. It's just like Gmail. It's updated live. There's new features coming all the time, and you don't have to worry about it. It's just all cloud-based, deployed. Log in tomorrow. Hey, I've got some new buttons, and the graph looks different. Okay, and then about 25% is the firmware that runs on the card. And this is the techie storage bit, the dedupe, the compression, the snapshot stuff. And that's just firmware, which you can upgrade via the cloud platform, deployed across the whole infrastructure, the click of a button. But it's such a small piece, it's really easy to upgrade because the management stuff is still in the cloud. So you're still managing it while it's being upgraded. You're not doing the whole thing at once. So you end up with this architecture, which is incredibly easy to keep up to date. You don't end up with this, I'm 2 or 3 years behind approach. Now, when there's a new feature or even a security patch, it's just done live in the cloud straight away.
Live in the cloud. Yeah, get it. Oh, that's really so. Okay, I'm going to come back to you in a second, and I'm going to go to Tim here. I'm going to do a couple of things for you. The first one is actually, I'm struggling to see where you're making your money because you are not selling, Tim. You are not selling the storage. You're not selling the controllers, which is a server, basically a controller. Love the term controller in storage. It's a server, You're not selling those things. You're just selling this service, really, with a card, So you've got to do a hell of a lot of this to make some good money. Or is this not the way? Am I thinking this is going to take over the world? So do you know where I'm getting to? Yeah,
I understand exactly where you're going to, actually. And we do think that if you look at our value proposition in terms of how we help customers, simply scale their businesses on premise, and also, if you look at what companies are spending on storage today, that's around a $25 billion market. And then you've got the whole HCI space. The on-premise data center infrastructure business is definitely in rude health. There's no doubt about that. On top of that, you've got the whole cloud market as well. So data continues to grow. It doesn't matter what's happening economically. That's still the case. Your point is,
with all the edge devices, it's absolutely
it's massive, And so those are the markets really that we target. We're absolutely focused as data on premises, is data that is remaining on premise that can't go to the cloud, typically for cost and compliance reasons. And also, there's a lot of companies, about 80% of them, that are bringing data sets and applications back from the cloud. That's not to say that the cloud isn't. It's obviously growing and doing incredibly well, but there's a lot of stuff that just isn't in the right place, and customers are increasingly educated in this hybrid world. The data needs to reside in, there's stuff that should be on premise and stuff that should be in the cloud, and they're educated as to what that should be. We're focused on the on premise bit, but you're right. So we don't sell storage, we don't sell hosts, and we don't keep data in the cloud, right? All we have in the cloud is the cloud control plane. But as Phil said, that is the management layer, and that's where all the smarts and the capability and the security and the intelligence and our IP, that's where it all lives. So what we charge for is a license to be able to use that smarts and intelligence and access the data plane, which is the IoT endpoints or the SBUs that reside in the servers. And the real value on that is that you can define all these environments from the cloud in exactly the same way as if you had a cloud control plane that was managing your data and applications in the cloud. You have one that manages your data and applications on premise, and you get some really simple, elegant advantages, and one that's incredibly easy to use, just like cloud. You're typically a couple of clicks away from any answer. And topographically, you can see the edge of the network and your edge devices and manage them in exactly the same way as you can the core, which is a very difficult thing for organizations to be able to do. Phil mentioned software updates, so that software updates can happen in background. We can release new features. And we maintain it all in one price that goes for each SPU, has a license, and we charge exclusively for that license. We design the services processing unit, but we don't sell it. So we have a design and license model there. So we don't participate in the hardware.
So if we're selling this, we're selling the offload card or whatever you'd like to call it. SPU, yeah. We're selling the disk, we're selling the servers, all HPE, HPE. And you've got the management layer out in the cloud running everything. And that's what's licensed. That's really smart, actually. That's really smart, because our business is mainly compliance and regulatory businesses. You're talking highly compliant, you're talking banking, finance, iGaming. That's really where we focus. So a lot of that isn't out in the cloud. Of course you're going to have SaaS stuff in the cloud. You're going to have Office 365 out there. Might have Power BI out there because Microsoft are forcing you down that route, or you're going to have Salesforce. But actually, where their apps are tend to be more on site for reasons of this. So this works perfectly for that. So people shouldn't be afraid. I'm thinking of certain banks I know who are afraid anything where it says cloud. They shouldn't be afraid that the management's in the cloud. There's no data up there, is there at all?
There's no data up there, and we've got very specific IP around how we manage the interfaces, you will, to the cloud control plane and the SPUs. I mean, an awful lot of work's gone there. We've hired a team in Seattle that are specialist in this area to build, design that capability. But the market that we're really addressing, if you think about it this way, is that most organizations today have got what you would call a cloud first strategy. You hear that continually, where we're making a change, and the change is an on-premise environment. Can we put the data or application in the cloud? If the answer is yes, it goes to the cloud. If the answer is no, then instantly your cloud first strategy is broken. What we're enabling for customers is to say to you, well, you can have your cloud first strategy, whether it's on-premise or in the cloud. If it's in the cloud, then go to your hyperscaler of choice or your partner of choice and buy their services. If you want to maintain services like that, but on-premise, then we're your answer.
Cloud first strategy, I've got to touch on that. I find it unbelievable. I went to lunch on Tuesday with a guy who's a senior director in a big insurance firm, and he was talking about their IT and they're rubbish at IT. And I said, well, sure they're not. I said, do they ever ask you what you need? No, they tell us what we get. I said, well, they probably are rubbish. But he said, but we've got to go to the cloud. I said, why? And he stopped. He said, well, that's what you do, isn't it? I said, no, it's not what you do. So you're going to tell your IT people to go to the cloud? He said, well, that's what we've agreed. I said, who's agreed? Oh, the board. I said, well, you're an idiot. Yeah. I said, you can't make that sort of decision. It's the right place. You right position things. Where things should go to the cloud, put them in the cloud, and where they shouldn't, they shouldn't. He said, oh, I've never thought about that. I said, yeah, because you read too many newspapers. Yeah. And so anyway, get off my high horse, shall I? So tell us where you've had some nice wins. Because you're quite embryonic as a business, haven't you? Only 2 or 3 years old?
We're 2.5 years old as a company, and we've been GA for a handful of months now. So we released our product a handful of months ago.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're very new, but we've got our first early adopter customers on board. We've got a healthy pipeline, great relationship, like I say, with HP and the HP community of partners as well. So that's important to us. Where we're seeing our first wins, automotive, a lot of interest in banking and finance.
Right. Okay.
With service providers, done very well there. Partners that are very interested in what we do, but have deployed themselves for their business. So we have one partner, SysDBA, for example, that were HP Storage Partner of the Year last year across Africa. They've deployed us. They bought us originally. I mean, they're old friends from the 3PAR days, if I'm honest, but they were very interested in what we were doing at Nebulon. They bought us as a test and dev platform so that they could show to their customers. And then they decided, well, they'll put their office infrastructure on there. And now it turns out that they've gone live with production customers on the platform as a service provider as well. And it's all consolidated and composed into one environment. The bit that was interesting about that, and one of the drivers, was that in the COVID situation, they decided they didn't need so much office space, and they moved their IT environment to a colo. And of course, colo, you're paying for rack space, and you're paying for footprints and these sorts of things. And one of the real advantages of what we do is that the form factor that we operate in is in the server. So you're putting a card in the server. So all that storage infrastructure that you otherwise would have, you don't need, which takes up a huge amount of footprint. And so the flash drives live in the flash drive bay in the host, and the card lives in the host as well, next to the GPU slot, and just advertises itself to the cloud. But they're all bought into the cloud first strategy. And what's interesting particularly about it is that with one partner of ours that we have, they're finding that we price very nicely into when they return applications from the cloud.
Right.
So if, for example, there was a return environment, it's nice and easy for customers because it operates exactly the same way. They tend to find they use what they paid for rather than having a basket of features that are developed for them that they paid for that they don't otherwise need. So very, very simple and very obvious customers, but we've been very pleased with the response so far. And building pipeline has been relatively straightforward, and compared to other environments that I've been involved with, other companies I've been involved with, we seem to be a bit ahead of the game in many ways.
Well, you're a good product, you've got a good story, and you've got good friends out there because of the history. So I think those three things really marry up. Just a quick one I've just spotted there. You were talking about service providers. So Phil, can you just jump on multi-tenancy side? Is this a multi-tenant environment the service provider can use? Because 3PAR, massive multi-tenancy, So
yeah, sure. Yeah, so if you look at the traditional 3PAR approach, the three-tier architecture, you end up with a very large storage infrastructure and then a whole lot of servers, and it's kind of all related to us in a single solution. If you look at the way we work, is we have the concept of pods, which are groups of servers. So if you want to deploy a VMware cluster, which is 5 servers, you buy those 5 servers, you enable them with Nebulon, and you deploy them as a pod as it is. And then you deploy another pod. It could be identical or it could be Kubernetes. So you end up with this pod-based architecture, deploying it on a per application basis. So you end up with multiple ones of those. But the headache that normally comes from management when you start doing that. If you talk about things like HCI, I love HCI, it's great. And you ask them 2 years later, I hate HCI. Why? Because I've got 6 different things and they're all complicated. If you have a central management platform where everything's in there, and I can orchestrate it and do it all there, and we've got AI analytics running on that platform, it doesn't matter. I get everything streamed in to a single platform. So we have this single management platform, and then we just deploy these pods. And one of the big benefits you see from us is that we can do core and edge. So smart core, smart edge. So we can deploy infrastructure in the data center, a large number of servers, a powerful application, large scale thing, in a larger bank, for example, but you can deploy the same infrastructure at the edge of that bank. You can deploy a single server with a single card in it with just a handful of disks. And it's exactly the same as the core data center infrastructure. And that's a massive value to a lot of these organizations, particularly some of the service providers where they want to centrally manage environments. One of our early wins is with a company we've been partnered with called DCI. They're looking at field hospitals in remote data centers, just drop it in. Now, all centrally managed over 4 or 5G from a central location. Now, those are the benefits of having this infrastructure everywhere, but managed as one from a single set.
Managing it from the cloud is absolutely perfect for that sort of environment, isn't it?
Yeah, but also the AI analytics is a really big piece coming forward. So if the central platform understands all of your CPU, your memory, all of your storage infrastructure, where your VMs are, it can make recommendations. It can understand what you're doing. It can stop you doing silly things. Now, don't do that, by the way. You should rebalance your servers. This is what's going on. Now, a storage company looks at the storage and says, this is how you should change your RAID level to make it go faster. But it doesn't understand the compute or the VM or the licensing model of the servers. So having that all in a central environment, we can make recommendations, or the customers can put out. Some customers, they want to pull all those metrics out into Grafana and display it in their own environment. It's fine. It's a central platform. Go, fill your boots.
Thanks, Phil. I'll tell you what, guys. Well, I've learned a lot today, and it's really impressive. It's really quite exciting as well, and it's nice to see the people you trust in the industry backing something. If they back something, then I always find it really interesting. And this, I think, something that's going to move, because there's no way that the sort of people who are here, who are running this, who are managing this like yourselves, and the people who are owning this, and also who are at the C level, they're not going to try and back something that's unlikely to succeed. So I think there's longevity. I think there's an exciting story here. Yeah, and I can see where it fits. I can see where it fits in our clients, actually. So, no, this is brilliant. Really, really impressive. So, gents, thank you so much for this. We will be doing another one next month as well. So now that some of you out there listening understand it a bit more, I hope we weren't talking too technical, and I hope we were layish enough. It's quite difficult when you know your subject quite well to talk in a manner that you think other people will, because they might not. Yeah. And so if we have, I apologise, but hopefully we haven't. But no, that's brilliant. Gents, really, really appreciate it. No, I'm going to finish it with a question. Tim, 3 years' time, where do you think you're going to be? Not you personally. You're going to be a Nebulon, yeah? That's
yeah. Definitely be a Nebulon. I think would be, if you were to describe what our business looks like in terms of our customers, I believe that we have the opportunity to be very, very well known in a lot of major, very significant logos, organizations that are household names today. If you think about what Phil was describing, the way that we work, the more, we operate so well at scale. We can start very, very small, but when you have a platform like this where you can see all your environment globally in exactly the same way that, for example, a company like Tesla can, where Tesla, they look at all their cars and they can see their fleet of cars everywhere, and on the same day, all the cars will update all their software all around the world. Someone will get an alert to their phone and they'll hit play, and away they go. That's conceptually how we're thinking about it. If you think about how quickly Tesla have scaled, then we get the opportunity to do that as well. So I think that you'll see, and we're already starting to see it in the nature of the customers that we're talking to, where we have a lot of very interested customers that are of a certain size, and then we've got a lot of a smaller number, but a significant number of large brands. So that's how we will get to be. That's how we'll get to be known.
Excellent. Right, gents,
thank you very much.
That's absolute pleasure, and I look forward to the one next month. Yeah, and then we'd have a lot more people watching, because then the word's going to go around. So, fantastic, gents. You have a fantastic long weekend, and a real pleasure. Thanks ever so much indeed.
Take care. All the very best.
Thanks,